Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the MMA War Room podcast, hosted by myself, Chris Shroyer, along with my co-hosts, Srikar, Rajendran, and Sam Corcoran. And last night, the UFC returned to Atlanta for the first time since 2019, and we got to see Kamaru Usman, one of the best welterweights of all time, return back to form in a dominant, unanimous decision victory over Joaquin Buckley. And, the card was a little bit lackluster, not what some fans were thinking or hoping it to be. I just want to get your guys' quick thoughts. Srikar, I'll start with you first. What were your quick thoughts on the card?
I think a common theme is that a lot of guys underperformed that we expected to overperform. Not many people rising to the occasion. In terms of the main card itself, entertainment value was just not there. Like, main event was cool. Like, I thought it was a good fight. The fight between Namajunas and Maverick, it was a good scrap as well. But, like, I think overall, the crowd was definitely getting restless. Like, when your perceived finishers are not getting finishes, right, and you keep going up the card and you start realizing, okay, yeah, this just isn't a good card, then you don't want to be waiting for the main event. You don't want to be like anticipating it for it to start during the main card. That's not the goal of a UFC card. You want to be entertained with every single fight that's on there. And I don't think that was achieved with this Atlanta card through no fault of, the UFC, because on paper, this was a good card. Like, I don't, it's just the fighters, obviously, some of them underperformed. And overall, I kind of just felt myself getting tired by the time Kamaru and Buckley made their walkouts.
Yeah, just not really. I'm a little disappointed by it. I thought this would be more of an entertaining card. The entire main card was all decision or technical decision, which is pretty ridiculous. That's something I did not expect. I think I had 4 decisions, so I was expecting a few with my predictions. Some good guys on the prelims. We'll talk about them in a little bit, especially Malcolm Wellmaker. But overall, I'm just a little disappointed by this card. But hey, looking at the predictions, who's the one guy that went 4-6? Who had the most wins out of all of us? I think that was me, right? Okay, next question.
Bro, it's been one event, and you're up by 1 point.
I mean, I'm just saying, I got the most right for this card. I'm going to take that.
That also happens when you go straight chalk, so.
Yeah, dude, no underdog picks is crazy.
It was the lone wolf for Raoni Barcelos. Come on now.
Hey, Cody we'll get into it, but Cody Garbrandt looks like the Cody Garbrandt of old, and arguably could have won. I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I know, Chris. I know.
He could have won 2 rounds.
Hating me, man.
he did look good. But on that topic, Sam mentioned it in his little spiel, but one of the bright spots of this card really was undefeated prospect Malcolm Wellmaker, keeping that 0 on his record, fighting Chris Moutinho. And obviously that wasn't the fight initially set up, but Moutinho steps in on short notice and Malcolm Wellmaker puts him out on short notice, pretty much. Halfway through round 1, Wellmaker lands with a thunderous right hook, just absolutely shuts the lights out. He's really going to be a problem in that division, in the bantamweight division. Sam, I'll start with you first now. What did you think of his performance and just what his future could look like in this promotion?
I mean, it was absolutely dominant, Chris. He was the heavy favorite coming in, one of the biggest favorites in UFC history. And he lived up to the expectation. I think you have one of the better bantamweight prospects at 135 in a division which has historically had some very good prospects that have panned out to be really well. I think Malcolm Wellmaker is in a very great position right now to have a lot of success in the UFC. He's still very young. I believe he's mid-20s. Am I correct by that?
Yes.
Mid-20s. No, he's 31, I believe.
Is he? Oh.
He's older.
I think I'm thinking of Umar C.
I'm thinking of Umar C. You're right. He's 31. So, I mean, he's still a prospect. He's 10-0. He's kind of on that. I'm not comparing him to Alex Pereira, but he's on that trajectory. A little bit of an older prospect coming in and just dominating at bantamweight. So, if you're Malcolm Wellmaker, you're going to want to keep fighting, stay active. I think that's the best option for him. He's fought in April and now June now. So 2 fights this year. And he's undefeated in the UFC. So if he keeps it up, the sky's the limit for him. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I honestly think you just fast track Malcolm Wellmaker. Like this guy.
You might as well, dude.
This guy he's in his fighting prime technically by age right now. as you said, Sam, the sky's the limit. There's no reason for him to be fighting like unranked bantamweights right now. Like, there's just no reason. Like, I think you got to put him against like people that are at least a little bit better in that unranked pool. Because I agree. Again, like, he literally turned the lights off on Chris Moutinho in round 1. Like, he did everything that we thought, and
something that Sean O'Malley didn't do.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna compare it to the O'Malley fight because he was just dude. Moutinho was like a Terminator in that fight. I don't know what was going on, but
yeah.
It's a little harder when you get back in the UFC. It's a tough run, man. Like, I kind of feel bad for Chris Moutinho. Like, you come back to the UFC and they give you Malcolm Wellmaker. Like, yeah, there was a reason he was such a huge favorite.
And the thing is, he might not even have been offered that fight if it wasn't on short notice. He might not even have been offered a fight at all if it wasn't a short notice fight against someone with the prowess of Wellmaker or even in that division. But just a quick thought on Wellmaker. When he was walking out, when I heard him walking out to, he's an Augusta, Georgia native. He was walking out to "Oh, Let's Do It" by Waka Flocka in Atlanta. You best believe that he was going to go out there.
Yeah,
exactly. He was going to go shut the lights out with that performance. But another performance that we were very underwhelmed by, and another prospect that lost his 0 going up to the main card, is Umar Sy. Came into the fight against Alonzo Menifield at -700, very raw prospect. And he's the fighter that I mentioned. He's just below 30. I believe he's 29. And, you know, it was a very underwhelming performance for him. He let Menifield into the fight. He won the first round and really just let Menifield do what he does best and just brawl, win points, land powerful punches. And I think that Umar Sy has a lot of holes in his game, but he's super raw, has a lot of talent. I think he could have a bright future in the UFC, but obviously you can't really go anywhere when you're not winning fights that you're supposed to, especially when the odds makers, obviously doesn't really matter what the odds makers think, but those odds are usually pretty telling of how a UFC fight could go, especially with the Wellmaker odds. He was -2100. That's absolutely unfathomable. Mm-hmm. But I think that Umar Sy,
to mention, Menifield didn't really look good in this fight either. Like, it was a very boring fight.
Lackluster.
I got 2 questions for you, both of you. First, would you consider this a fraud check for Umar Sy?
I'll answer it by just shaming the notion of a fraud check. I feel like people throw it around so loosely. Like, so loosely. Alex Pereira lost to Magomed Ankalaev, and people say, "Oh, Alex Pereira got fraud checked." Are you kidding me, bro? Are you kidding me? Like, what are we even talking about? So I don't use the word fraud check, but I do agree that it was a very, very disappointing performance by Umar Sy. I wasn't necessarily like surprised by how the fight went. Like, Menifield like tried at times to make it a brawl, like he'd just kind of rush in, but like nothing ever really came of substance. And then Umar Sy obviously was going to play the range game. He was just trying to get it on points. He was never really going to test the ground game, and I get that. Like, I get the approach. But these are things that you have to correct. Like, even as a prospect, if you're going up against Alonzo Menifield, which, by the way, how is he a ranked fighter? Like, I don't understand how Alonzo Menifield has a number next to his name.
That's my second That's my second question for you guys. Does Alonzo Menifield deserve to fight in the rankings next?
Yes, actually, I think so. I think so.
Let's hear it, Chris. I'm conflicted. I have a few names, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so this is our, not prediction show, but this is our matchmaking show. This is where we take all the winners and match them up. And I really think that Alonzo should fight in the rankings. He was really counted out in this fight before it even started. He went in there. He showed that he is a UFC vet and he still has the fight IQ, and he knows how to win fights. He's tough as nails. And I think that Umar, the opportunity presented itself to him, but Alonzo got it done. And I don't see him fighting too much up in the rankings. I see him fighting Johnny Walker. I think that could really be a good fight for him. Johnny Walker's on a 2-fight skid or two.
Would this be after he fights?
He would have to lose to Zhang Mingyang, I should say.
In Shanghai.
And I do believe that's okay. All. Yeah, so he's fighting in Shanghai. If you're not going to put him against Zhang Mingyang, even if Johnny Walker wins that fight, I think if Johnny Walker loses that fight, I do agree that's the perfect matchup. I'll let you continue, Chris, but I'm totally in agreement with you.
If even if we're not going to give Alonzo, okay, so I actually didn't even realize that Johnny Walker was fighting Zhang Ming Yang. That just goes to show that I need to check Twitter a little bit more.
He does not know ball, guys.
I do not know ball. Actually,
I mean, to be fair, it's not official. It's just kind of.
I was going to say Tapology doesn't know ball because it's not even scheduled on it. So,
interesting.
Okay, so let's say that doesn't fall. Let's say Zhang Ming Yang and Johnny Walker are slated to fight. I could see him fight. All right, you know what? It wouldn't be in the rankings, but I could see him fighting Dustin Jacoby.
Yeah, that's my pick too.
I think
I don't think he deserves a ranked fight.
I think if you want a fan favorite fight, if you want some fireworks, you could give him to Volkan Oezdemir.
No, I would not. So
I think Volkan should be fighting Azamat Murzakanov.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I think that's a little too high. I think the other fight that you need to look at on the Saudi card, Nikita Krylov and Bogan Guskov.
Oh, Guskov, yeah, that's going to be a great fight.
Krylov just lost to Dom Reyes, got absolutely smoked by him. The loser of that fight would be another great person in the rankings for Alonzo Menifield. Two people, and that would be two people fighting to just stay in the rankings. I think Menifield, this fight proved me nothing. Like, if he has that number 15 next to his name, sure. He still needs to prove that he deserves to stay in the rankings to me. And I think the best way to do it is you fight a guy low in the rankings. So that's why I'm going to say yes to this question. And I think Johnny Walker, if he lost, would be the best one. Again, it's all a timeline thing. If Johnny Walker's not ready to go, because losing a fight, you never know how the fighter is going to recover. Some take, like Kamaru Usman, 2 years off. Some take 3 months off or something. At the end of the day, you need to figure out how the timelines work out, and then you can schedule Alonzo Menifield for one of those 3 guys. I think.
I'll say right now. I mean, Dustin Jacoby he's gonna slump Alonzo Menifield.
Yeah, I think you put Menifield in fireworks fights. You want him to be in the fire the entire time, and I think that's what people thought. I think that's what the matchmakers thought this Umar Sy fight was going to be. I think they thought there were going to be a little more fireworks. I certainly expected there to be fireworks, whether it would be a punch that goes into ground and pound or a submission, but it was
Umar was too hesitant. Like, he was so scared of like losing that fight.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, hopefully he learns from that. And if he came out a little more aggressive, he would have had it. But it seems like he's just letting Menifield kind of just walk onto him. I just don't like how Umar Sy played that fight.
Yeah, but it'll definitely be interesting to see what the UFC does with Sy, adding to the list of prospects that have lost their 0 in 2025. But another prospect that kept their 0 was the fight directly after this one, the second fight on the card, Mansur Abdul-Malik winning a technical decision over Cody Brundage. Should have been a TKO. There was an accidental clash of heads on the entry from Abdul-Malik in that 3rd round. But guys, were you impressed with Abdul-Malik? I spoke a little bit to the podcast, last podcast, our prediction podcast, about the hesitancy of Abdul-Malik, and he has so much power. We saw it. When he lands flush. It's very damaging. But I think that what he did to Cody Brundage in the 3rd round, he could have done that in the 1st round and got him out of there a lot quicker than he did. And that just goes to show, a little bit of the immaturity of some of these prospects. And just, you have to fight vets and you have to walk through the fire to understand what you need to do in fights like that. But Sam, I'll start with you. What did you think about Mansur's performance last night?
I thought from Mansur, I think it should have ended earlier. I think that's one thing we were texting throughout the fight. This fight should have ended earlier. It was a dominant fight all around for Mansur Abdul-Malik. And I think at the end of the day, I want to see, I'm impressed. I don't really have too much to say about that. I want to see the earlier finish. And I think that's also credit to Cody Brundage for just having a iron chin in that fight and just staying up and making sure that he's not going down without a fight. And it's unfortunate how it ended. At the end of the day, though, this was going to be Mansur's fight to win. Like, he was dominating the entire time. I think next for him, I got 2 names. One guy we just saw at UFC 316, Joe Pyfer. That's a potential name. I think it's a little high in the rankings, I think. And they're both unranked. I don't think he deserves a ranked fight. But you have another 27-year-old prospect, undefeated, who has absolutely dominated his fights. This one was probably actually the least dominant out of all of them. But I think it's still worthy of a fight up there. The other one, I think this would be a very fun fight and something I think the UFC would love to do, a little more realistic. Bo Nickel, another prospect who just lost, but someone that the UFC was really hyping up. Now you have Mansur Abdul-Malik undefeated. Do you switch the guard? Do you change the guard a little bit? Use this fight to – you have the hype prospect with Bo Nickel. You have Abdul-Malik, who's not as hyped up. This is a good fight to change the guard, and the winner of this fight gets just more hyped up, more promotion. I like this fight a lot if the UFC set this up.
Srikar, what are your thoughts?
I will say I'm not impressed by Mansur Abdul-Malik, but I think if Cody Brundage didn't start throwing haymakers in that third round for whatever reason, let's just all applaud Cody Brundage's fight. Because it was certainly on display there.
Oh, it was a much better fight.
I said he was tough.
No, I'm being sarcastic. That was a horrible play by Cody Brundage. If he didn't do anything, Mansur Abdul-Malik would not have actually gone for the finish.
It would have went to decision. That speaks to the hesitancy that I mentioned last podcast. He doesn't really throw. He's hesitant to, get caught on the counterpunch.
Well, you know what? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He decided to throw haymakers, and he got rewarded with
valid.
The clash of heads and then the finish, but
I was only saying it just because how long the fight went, but continue.
Yeah, but even then, I just feel like
he wasn't that smart, though.
He wasn't smart at all. Cody's never really fought a smart fight. But in terms of next matchups, Ikram Aliskerov and Bruno Ferreira fight in July. I think the loser of that fight could end up turning around and facing Mansur Abdul-Malik. Maybe an Andre Muniz. I really don't think there's any other avenue. Like I think the unranked pool is very deep for middleweights, which is good. You got a lot of guys there. But after like a technical after that fight, I don't think I'd really push him up any further. I think Ferreira and Aliskerov would be the toughest matchups he's had in the UFC to date, and that's exactly what he wants. He wants to keep fighting tougher and tougher guys. He wants to keep getting better. He said in his post-fight interview as well. So I think that would fit the bill in that case.
Yeah, Sam, you were on the track that I was thinking on. I wasn't thinking about Joe Pyfer. I was thinking about the opponent that he recently beat in Kelvin Gastelum. I think that Mansour versus Gastelum, he's still almost a gatekeeper on the edge of, if he wins a few fights, he could be at the bottom half of the middleweight rankings. But I think that Gastelum is a perfect opponent to really evaluate where Mansur Abdul-Malik.
The thing is, for once, I don't want to give Gastelum a power puncher.
I know, but I mean, I think it really, look, Mansour's a good wrestler in his own right. He'll be going up against a good wrestler in Kelvin Gastelum, and Gastelum can take a punch. This is where Mansour can really demonstrate his, improvements in his game that he has made going back to the drawing board for this fight. You really need to, because you didn't put away Cody Brundage, someone who's been knocked out in the first round before by guys far less powerful and far less technical, far less talented than you are. I think that Gastelum will present that real veteran prowess in the octagon, that if Mansur Abdul-Malik beats Gastelum convincingly, even by a close decision, we just saw Pyfer take a close decision against Gastelum. And that led us to question, is Pyfer ready for the top of the middleweight division? And, whether he is or whether he isn't, I think Gastelum is the perfect test for Abdul-Malik to really show where he actually is against competition that is still top level. Because obviously Gastelum is better than Cody Brundage, but I mean, Brundage lasted in there for a long time, even though Abdul-Malik didn't go for the finish. Still hats off to Cody Brundage for getting the third round and being willing to.
But what did he do? Like, what did he do that
he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. I think it
was more of Abdul-Malik just being bad. Like,
I think it's a good test for Abdul-Malik. It shows that, okay, they're impressive win. You need to do a lot more work though. Like, you're still.
I don't even think it was an impressive win. Like,
I think
he dominated the fight. That's what I'm saying. It's an impressive because he dominated the fight. And yes, he has a lot more.
Did he dominate though? Did he really dominate?
I don't know if I don't know if I'd say dominated. I'd say he won convincingly.
Was it
really that's probably the better term, but
I meant if it went to decisions, I would have had no doubt in my mind saying, okay, Mansur Abdul-Malik just won that.
Yes, I completely agree.
But I wouldn't say that was
comparative to the expectations we had. I just wasn't impressed at all.
But that's why
that's what I'm also saying. Like, it showed that he's still a prospect and has a lot to work on. So
right.
that's why
I think Gastelum will be that guy that really is he's the measuring stick. I think he's
and I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, I don't mind the fight. I don't mind the fight.
So yeah, so obviously we all great picks on our end for potential fights for Mansur Abdul-Malik in the future. But the next fight, the third fight on that main card was, it was a good fight. I would say it was a good fight. Edmen Shahbazyan taking a unanimous decision I'm getting way too far ahead of myself.
A little ahead of
The first fight that Srikar and I predicted and lost was an underdog.
Who didn't lose that fight? Who predicted that fight right again? Trying to
remember. You picked the favorite.
We'll give it to Sam Corcoran. Corcoran, excuse me. But Raoni Barcelos versus Cody Garbrandt. Raoni taking a unanimous decision victory over Cody Garbrandt. But in those first two rounds, it looked like the Cody of old. I was getting a little antsy in my seat, and Srikar and I were texting back and forth. Oh my gosh, is Cody No Love back? And I think for the first two rounds, he really looked, obviously, take a step back. He obviously wasn't as fast or as precise and sharp as he used to be, but a notch down, that did look like the Cody No Love that did hold the championship, the bantamweight championship at one point in time. And I think Barcelos he's just a dog, man. He's a grinder. You really can't do too much to him. You're really just gonna have to throw everything you have, the kitchen sink at the wall to beat him. And I think that he's really he's making a name for himself, even though he's so old. He's not a young fighter in this division in MMA, but he moves to 20-5. I think that he really could be shaking some things up at the bottom half of the bantamweight rankings. But Srikar, I'm going to start with you first. It's sad to see Cody No Love lose that decision, but what did you think of his performance? And then on the other half, what did you think of Raoni Barcelos' performance?
Yeah, it was a tough one to watch from Mr. Cody Garbrandt. I really felt
like that though.
We literally go watch our predictions video if you haven't. We literally laid it out. Like, we knew exactly what Cody Garbrandt was going to come out with in that first round. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought he cracked the code. Like, I thought he had it. Like, he had that first round on locks. And then he just, I don't know, he just sold. The gas tank, whatever it was. He didn't throw as many kicks. Mm-hmm. When you're back up against the fence, I was literally screaming, throw combos.
Yep.
Raoni Barcelos is literally, his hands are like down here. He's so hittable. He was tagging him in the first round. Just throw. That's all you have to do is just throw. I'll be fair to Raoni Barcelos. There was a smart game plan. He came in with the right idea. It was a smart fight from him. It wasn't fireworks, but I mean, the win's a win. That's how you beat Cody Garbrandt. But oh man, I'm so disappointed because I really feel like Cody had it like that. We laid it out perfectly in terms of like how he was going to do it when his back was up against the fence. How was he going to counter? And he countered perfectly. Like, all you had to do was be a little less hesitant. That's another thing that's been throughout this whole main card. Less hesitancy. Just throw. Like, just go for it. And I'll get into it with Shahbazyan and Petrosky as well, because that's something Shahbazyan could have done. But in terms of a next matchup, I think you can maybe give Barcelos maybe like a Charles Jourdain, maybe like I don't know, like someone in that unranked pool. I don't know if it should be someone like on the younger side. I'd give him maybe like a vet, and then push him into like a potential ranked fight. But he's on a 3-fight win streak and getting back-to-back wins with Talbot and now Garbrandt. It's impressive. It's a good resume to have.
Definitely.
And it seems like he's on the upswing. So yeah, it's a smart win for Barcelos. And yeah, we'll see how Cody rebounds from this.
Yeah, I mean, I will say credit to you guys laying it out perfectly for how Garbrandt would approach this fight. And he did just that. Barcelos just came out as the better fighter at the end of the day on a 3-fight win streak. It's really unfortunate though, because I'm looking at these guys for matchmaking. A lot of the ranked guys are booked. The timelines just do not work out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think Barcelos deserves a ranked opportunity in theory. It's just like the guys there aren't lining up well. And the only guy I could potentially see him fight in the rankings is Vinicius Oliveira if he loses to Kyler Phillips at UFC 318. Kyler Phillips would be fine, but he already beat Barcelos, so that's not going to happen. An alternate guy is another guy who fought on this card, Ricky Simone, who also won, also very close to the rankings, in my opinion. I think you can have those two fighters go at each other and ranked opportunity maybe if one of those guys wins. And if not, then they're for sure fighting someone else in the rankings. You can fight maybe a more high profile. It's a lot of prospects in these rankings. That's the thing. Kind of on that note, I was talking about with just the bantamweight prospects and Malcolm Wellmaker. But at the end of the day, I think you got to have someone close to the rankings for Barcelos. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's on the older side. I believe he is 30. He's 38. He just turned 38. So that's you got to make sure you're putting this guy in the rankings when you can, making the most of his opportunity, especially on this 3-fight win streak. Just needs that one more push, and I think he can get it. And maybe the schedules line up differently in the bantamweight rankings, but it's a little tough to give him a ranked bout right now, unfortunately, and that sucks because I think he's deserving of a ranked opportunity, and I don't know if he's going to get it.
I wouldn't push him into a ranked.
I do agree.
Yeah, I agree.
He's on a 3-fight win streak. It'd just be Cody Garbrandt and one of the more hyped up bantamweight prospects at the time, and Peyton Talbot.
I think he needs one more because.
He needs one more for sure to get in.
I loved his call out though. I love the Rob Font call out, but I think
I like that too. Yeah,
that's good. He's not going to get it, but it was a good call out.
A little bit out of his reach. I think wins one more fight, feed him to Rob Font, and I think that would be a great fight. I think obviously you guys were definitely right. A little bit out of the rankings. I would love to see him fight Rob Font. I think that would be a great fight. But someone that I can see him fighting is a Jonathan Martinez or. Maybe even Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos, 17-1, just lost his last fight. I don't really know what the UFC wants to do in terms of Marcos because he's still a good prospect. He has a lot of potential, and he in the UFC is 4-1 with 1 no contest. Just lost to Montel Jackson, who is at I believe ranked 13 or 14 at the bottom half of the bantamweight rankings. But I think, I think I really like the Jonathan Martinez fight. The 4th fight of the night was Edmen Shahbazyan taking a unanimous decision victory over Andre Petroski. I was the lone wolf taking Petroski in that fight. Srikar and Sam both had Shahbazyan winning, but it was, a little bit of a lackluster performance from both. Definitely a lackluster performance from Petroski. Shahbazyan's striking and just length overall range was a little bit too much for him. He seemed uncomfortable entering the pocket to, secure a takedown, even just land a few strikes. But Shahbazyan gets it done by unanimous decision, even potentially might have broken Petroski's hand, arm at the end of that 3rd round. Not too sure about that, but nonetheless, Shahbazyan moves to 8-3 in the UFC and puts together a 2-fight win streak for the first time in a few years. Srikar, I'm going to come back to you. Your thoughts on the fight and Shahbazyan's performance?
Yeah, he locked in. He definitely locked in.
He did.
Good performance from Shahbazyan. I agree, though, that Petroski did kind of underperform here. It just didn't look like the usual stuff that he normally does. He kind of looked good. Like, he looked comfortable on the feet in that first round, and then kind of like Cody Garbrandt, he kind of just faded as...
he was landing powerful shots, though, when he did land.
He was. I think he should have shot more takedowns, to be honest, because he was kind of succeeding with that, and then he just stopped again. Again, with the hesitancy. Go for the takedowns. Just go. Just do it. Be aggressive.
Right.
And yeah, it did look like his hand or his wrist might have broke one of those in the 3rd round when he got hit by one of those Shahbazyan kicks, but not too sure what happened there. But for Edmen Shahbazyan, like, again, smart fight. Definitely a lot more patient than we've seen him. He definitely stuck to the game plan. Listened to his corner, which is very, very important. And I was happy with it. I think it was a good performance. I think his future could look pretty good in that regard. I was looking at Tapology and like seeing who's available. I don't know what the status is with Jacob Malkoun. He was supposed to fight Rodolfo Vieira on a fight night, I believe, like last December. It might have been a little earlier. But the last time he fought was UFC 299, which is a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
So I think, I think you give him Jacob Malkoun. I think that can make sense. Or maybe not UFC 299. It was a while ago though. But Malkoun would be my pick here. But I'm really excited about where Shahbazyan could go after this. I think I wouldn't say the sky's the limit, but I'm optimistic. I like where he's going.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't overall that impressed with the fight. I thought it was a little boring, but it was a good one for Shahbazyan against someone who is around his caliber. I think it was a good win for him. I think he still has a little bit more work to do. More of a striker, as we kind of mentioned. I think I had him by KO. It went to decision, so I got that aspect a little wrong. But overall, I said it was going to be a close fight, and it was for the most part pretty close. I mean, he definitely won the fight. It was a convincing win, but not like a dominant win. We'll put it that way. Next up for him is a little tough. Like,
yeah,
it's with all these like middleweights in the same area. I think Gastelum might actually be good for him, Chris, too. I'm not opposed to that. That's kind of the guy I was looking at. You mentioned him earlier for Mansur Abdul-Malik. So I think at the end of the day, that's the one guy I'm looking at. If he doesn't get Mansur, I think you could put him up against Edmen Shahbazyan.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that, you're right. The middleweight division is just a little hairy right now. You really don't know. Everyone's timelines are kind of messed up.
And we've been seeing so many middleweight fights recently that it becomes hard because there's so many scheduled and we're already seeing a lot of it.
Yes.
No, definitely. I 1000% agree. Someone that I can see him fighting, obviously, I would love Edmen to get into the rankings. He's been with the UFC for quite some time. I don't think that he will get a ranked fight. I think he needs to prove a little bit more, put together a 3-fight win streak. That would look promising for a ranked shot. But right now I'm looking at the rankings or just the middleweight pool of unranked fighters. And, someone like a Dustin Stoltzfus or, even just mixing and matching. I know I said Gastelum for Mansur, but you could even put Mansur up against Edmen. I would love to see that fight. I would like to see that fight too, because it's two guys. Edmen needs one more win to, like I said, fight into the rankings. Mansur, obviously, we talked about it. He's still trying to find his footing in the UFC, find what he's really, really good at. Obviously, that's punching because he gets a lot of knockouts, but he needs to have a complete game. And I think a fight against Edmen could do that. But my final pick prediction for Edmen's next fight, I think Dustin Stoltzfus would be a good fight. He's not a gatekeeper, but he's someone that you beat and then usually end up in the rankings right after that. He like when you look at his track record, a loss to Nursultan Ruziboev, then he beat Marc-Andre Barrio, lost to Bruno Fajeda, beat Punahele Soriano, lost to Abus Magomedov, beat Dwight Grant. He just goes back. He trades losses with wins. But Stoltzfus also beat Joe Pyfer. If anyone remembers that, Joe Pyfer's first fight on Contender Series, he got lifted up and slammed by Stoltzfus that broke Pyfer's arm, that took away that shot in the UFC. I think that Stoltzfus versus Shahbazyan would end up being a good fight. It's hard because you got to pick fights that whoever the winner or the loser is, it almost just weeds out the loser and puts them back in line, because that's kind of what you need to do. You can't have two fights where it's like, all right, well, if this guy loses, then he's still up there in the rankings, or he's still up in the conversation to be there. So I think that you need to pick fights where you're just weeding someone out almost. But the next fight, speaking of weeding out the division, Rose Namajunas is back. Just picked up a unanimous decision victory over Miranda Maverick. Actually landed a knockdown. I don't know if it was counted as a knockdown. It sure looked like.
Well, Maverick went on Instagram and she said that her knees buckled because she tore her ACL in the second round.
Oh, yep. Wow, I didn't see that.
I did see her limping a lot after the fight. I even texted you guys, hey, I think Miranda's hurt. It did count as a knockdown. She landed that glancing left overhand almost landed right on the temple of Maverick, sat her down. But Rose definitely needed that fight 1000% to get back on track. It's good to see her back on track. But it was also a solid fight from Miranda. Miranda did not concede much ground to Rose. Even when she got into the scrambles, she looked fairly comfortable. And in the second round, she almost had an arm triangle on Rose. I thought that was going to be over. It looked really tight. Rose did a lot of squirming, just twisting, trying to get out of that. But I think it was a solid performance from both. It's sad for Miranda to hear that she did tear her ACL. That's not a fun road to recovery, and hope that she'll be back in the near future. But Rose, I think, my next fight for her, I want to see her fight Alexa Grasso. I think those are two struggling, or former struggling, at least for Rose now, but two fighters that were at the top of the game, kind of fell back down to earth. And now it's like I said, it's weeding fighters out. You need to make fights that weed someone out where you have a clear cut. All right, this person's going up here and this person's moving down here. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a perfect fight to make in that division, because flyweight's getting a little bit crowded. It's getting a little crowded in the women's flyweight division. But Sam, it looked like, you know what? You agree with me. So I'm going to go to Srikar first.
Yeah, I want to hear what Srikar has to say.
Doesn't agree with Alexa Grasso versus
I have a much better fight in a much better location with much better timing. Like I think it's pretty obvious. I'm actually glad that both of you guys did not agree with me. First of all, though, Miranda Maverick definitely gave a really good accounting of herself. Especially considering she tore her ACL in the second round. I was literally saying the scorecards could literally go in Maverick's favor. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I think, I know some people are claiming robbery. I mean, it's not really a robbery if you could give it to either person, but that is what it is. It was a good fight from Rose. I think
before you say your next fight, can I make a prediction?
Yeah, sure.
You're gonna say it's Manon Fiora at the Vancouver fight night. No, okay,
but you got one part of it right. She's gonna be fighting at the Vancouver fight night, and she's going to be fighting Canada's probably most promising contender right now for a title, and it's Jasmine Jasudavicius. I think she is right on the brink of the top 5. She is going to be on that Canada card. She's on every single Canada card. We just saw Rose Namajunas fight in Edmonton, so she's also becoming familiar with Canada. And look, I just think you put Jasmine Jasudavicius, she just submitted Jessica Andrade like instantly. Like, she completely dominated that fight. Put her up against a former 2-time champ. Like, she's perfectly ready for the opportunity. I think it's the perfect matchup. I think it could honestly main event that Vancouver fight night because, look, she's popular in Canada, and she's got a lot of potential to be the person that carries Canada on her back going into the next, however many years. Yeah, I think you set up Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Rose Namajunas. Wow, those names are crazy to put side by side.
Yeah.
But I think it makes no sense. They'll both be ready for October. I think Rose can turn around for that. And it's definitely screams fight night. So, yeah, I think it makes the most sense there.
So I don't hate that, Srikar. I think Jasmine Jasudavicius deserves a better fight. Personally, she's on a 5-fight win streak. I think an Erin Blanchfield would be a good fight for her. You could even look at you could say Manon Fiora as well.
But Blanchfield wants to fight up.
Yes, I was going to say if you're looking at Vancouver, Canada, Manon versus Jasmine Jasudavicius would be an absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I think Manon moves up to bantamweight though. I don't know if she's going to stay at flyweight. To be honest, she's huge for flyweight. Like and the weight cuts are getting harder and harder. I don't know if she's going to want to stay at flyweight.
But I think that's her best bet. Like, I mean,
I think that's her
beating Kayla Harrison. She almost beat Shevchenko. So, and the other reason I say that, I think Manon versus Jasudavicius, I think that's a fight. The winner of that is due for a title shot. And personally, I think Rose Namajunas needs 2 more for a title shot.
I'm not mad at Jasmine versus Manon. I think it makes sense.
Yes. And your fight's not a bad fight either. I think
we're all making sense.
Yeah. It's just timing is the big thing, and location is also another thing. I don't know. Well, Manon could definitely turn around for it. But I do think Manon was a better fit for Montreal because she's French.
Yes.
So you can't put her on every Canada card. Rose could be on any candidate card. Like I mean, she's already co-headlined Edmonton.
Could you is Rose too quick of a turnaround for Alexa Grasso at Noche? Is that too quick of a turnaround?
No, absolutely not.
It's not. I don't think it's a bad fight. Like I think Alexa Grasso would also make sense.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. So personally, I think this Alexa Grasso fight is absolutely perfect. She's on a 3 fights without a win streak. We'll put it that way. 2 fight losing streak, and then you had that no contest in the second fight against Valentina Shevchenko.
The
champ fight, champ versus champ. That's exciting. That's something that UFC can promote. And the winner can potentially move up for a title shot. I think both of these fighters are 2 away, and this will, like Chris said, kind of weed out what is right now a very stacked women's flyweight division. I think this is just pure entertainment. I'm really excited to see this fight come up. And I don't hate.
Funny when you say it's stacked because I feel like everyone loses to Valentina Shevchenko.
I mean, that's the thing. Shevchenko is the queen of that division. There's a reason she's the number 1 pound for pound fighter. But you never know with Zhang Weili maybe coming up. There's always been some rumblings about that. I think if she beats what's her face again? Yonderoba. I think if she beats Yonderoba, she would come up. At the end of the day, I think this Alexa Grasso Rose Namajunas fight is pure entertainment. I think that's also what the UFC is going to want. I think they're not. I've noticed a trend recently with the UFC, which I could go on a bit more of a rant on, but to keep it short, I don't think they're really reading through the lines of some of these fights. And I think they're kind of just scheduling the bigger names against the bigger names. And that's why some people are considered for a title shot, like Yair Rodriguez right now is being considered over Movsar Evloev for that featherweight title shot in the men's division. And this kind of would be the same thing. And it's deserving. It's a good one. But I think they're not necessarily reading through the lines, and I think that's what's going to happen next as well.
Is Yair even like a bigger name than like a Movsar Evloev though? Like I
yes, he's an interim champ. That's
1,000%.
It's a topic for another day. But like
it says something when Yair gets a title shot, and every single person unites in the MMA fan base and says Movsar should get the shot. For someone who's quote unquote boring. I don't know. Like, is he really like a bigger fight than Movsar?
It's not even like the bigger fight. They're just reading through the lines with like the name recognition. Who are the casual fans going to know? Who are the non-MMA fans going to know? Because let's be real, Evloev is not like that high profile. And I think Yair's a little more high profile than him. Same goes here. You look at Jazavicius and not as high profile as a fighter like Alexa Grasso. That's kind of what
I'll ask you this. Is Marcus McGee high profile?
No, but
he's fighting Petr Yan.
No.
That's the other thing. But it's like the thing with Petr Yan is Umar Nurmagomedov is if the name Nurmagomedov is going to ring a bell for everyone. Sean O'Malley's great. Sandhagen's American. That's where the majority of your fan base is. He's fought for other title shots.
Wait, no, there's no way you're trying to argue Petr Yan isn't as big a fighter as a Corey Sand. There's no way. He held the belt. He had the interim belt. He's fought in title fights pretty much for like a good chunk of his career.
I don't know. It's
no
just like,
way. There's no way.
I mean, the UFC is like they're scheduling guys that they're not. Point being, they're not really reading through the lines and doing the best evaluation, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
That's the only point.
But that's something we could talk about in the middle of the week. I actually want to delve deeper into that.
Well, let's talk about another guy. Moving on to the main event, another guy who's been kind of. I'll let Chris you handle it, but this is Kamaru Usman's another guy that the UFC are probably going to be promoting a lot more because of the name recognition.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said, Sam. Name recognition. He's one of the best welterweights of all time, one of the best UFC fighters of all time. I think that any fight that you put Kamaru Usman in, it'll gain traction, gain attention, and fans will be drawn to it. But last night, great performance for him. Absolutely silenced every doubt in everyone's mind that he doesn't have it. He looked great, absolutely great. I know we all picked Buckley to win, but there was a slight path to victory for Buckley. He would have had to really walk through the fire to get it in terms of defending those takedowns. Kamaru secured 13 minutes of control time on the ground in his first win in 4 years and his first fight in 2 years. I think that that's impressive no matter who you're fighting, considering that, the reason that people are counting him out is because of his age. He's very old, 38. And this, is kind of his last gasp to really go for a title shot. And I know we talked a little bit about this, and we're going to dive into this a little bit later in the week in another podcast, but fighters being entitled or thinking they're entitled to certain things. And last night, a big point that Usman was trying to make is that he wants the winner of JDM Islam for that welterweight belt. Now, do I think he should get it? Personally, I would give it to him. It's UFC name recognition. It'll be a massive fight. That's his last gasp. If he loses that fight, it's over. It's over for him.
I'm not like terribly mad at it. No.
I think would hate that with a passion. Who do you think?
All right, so look, he's lost his last 3 fights. He got knocked out by Leon. Should have won that, obviously. Lost to Leon. Leon had literally the best performance
of
his career. Draw. He will never. Yeah, it could have been a draw. Leon will never do that again. That was the most inspired performance that Leon Edwards has ever had in his life. And takes a fight with Khamzat on short notice. Could have been a draw. It was very, very close. 2 weeks short notice. Takes it to 3 rounds. Could have won that fight. It could have been a draw, or Usman technically could have won. If it was a 5-round fight, I've been saying this. I think Usman would have beat Khamzat in a 5-rounder. But why wouldn't you give him the title shot? I mean, it's the end of the line for him. He either wins or he loses. And if he wins, obviously he goes on and keeps his reign going. But I think that he deserves it, man. He's only lost 3 times in his he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, but he just came back after 2 years and absolutely dominated Buckley. That people were thinking that this was going to be a drubbing. He was just going to be absolutely out, or he dominated, and that just did not happen. And I think, right now with the state of welterweight, there's so many people, and giving him the title shot will hold up the line. But I think there's other fights that you can make in the division. Shavkat is obviously he's at the top, but he's hurt. When is he going to come back? We don't even know. So that's interesting. I don't think necessarily you give Sean Brady it right now. I'm telling you, I would love to see Belal versus Sean Brady too. I think that'll be a very good fight, title contention, and the winner of that should fight the winner of Usman versus the winner of Islam and JDM. There's a lot of winners fighting winners here, but I think that would be UFC's business model and path to
I wouldn't put it past the UFC to do it. I hate that, though. I completely disagree that Kamaru Usman deserves a title shot right now. I think he needs one more fight. Talking about the fight itself, I was very impressed. Don't get me wrong. I was a little shocked that Usman performed this well. And I thought, I was like, hey, don't count out Kamaru Usman for winning this fight. I know Buckley's the heavy favorite, but Kamaru Usman's one of the greatest welterweights of all time. His last 3 fights were all very close. I just thought, 38, you haven't fought in 2 years, and you're going up against one of the biggest
But he
strikers.
just came out and did that. He literally dominated Buckley.
Well, that's where
hold
on. Let me finish my point real quick. I'm very impressed by this, nonetheless. And Buckley won on the feet, but Usman dominated on the ground. I think you look at this welterweight division, though. I personally think Belal Muhammad's more entitled to a rematch than Kamaru Usman is a title shot. I think Sean Brady is more deserving of a title shot.
He didn't even
Shavkat Rakhmonov, depending on the injury, is more deserving of the title shot. I think there are 3 guys ahead of Kamaru Usman, and Usman needs to beat one of those guys to get the title shot. I think the Belal Muhammad fight that has been rumored and that Belal is wanting, and Usman's been trash-talking Belal a lot, I think it is just setting up perfectly for a Belal versus Usman fight, title eliminator. Give the winner of that.
Usman's not at the point of title eliminator. It's either he gets the shot or he's done. That's his mindset.
Put him in a title eliminator. I think there's a few avenues you could go. Personally, I'd rather see. Okay, this all depends on when they schedule Sean Brady versus Ian Gary. Because I was gonna say the loser of that fight could fight Kamaru for a title shot, but
the loser.
I would rather.
You mean the winner, right?
The winner gets a title shot between Brady and Gary. If Sean Brady beats Ian Gary, he is getting a title shot.
He's sorry.
Yeah, you might have said that back. I think you said that backwards.
But
I think you said it backwards.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying the loser could fight Kamaru potentially.
I got it.
But the thing is, I would rather see Bilal fight Shavkat than Bilal fight Kamaru. I think that's just the more interesting fight stylistically, because Bilal and Kamaru, like, it's two wrestlers. Yeah, I don't want to see them in a stand-up battle by all means. Like, I just don't.
It wouldn't even be that.
Yeah, like, how would Bilal? I don't know. I'm not mad at giving Kamaru a title shot, and my thoughts on the overall performance, I think it was definitely vintage Kamaru. But also I was a little confused because Colby had like very similar entries into his takedowns, but Buck just couldn't defend it against Kamaru for whatever reason. And I was
how bad is Colby Covington? I mean,
yeah, I'm like, Colby was more conditioned. He was more active. He was the fresher guy compared to Kamaru. And yet he still couldn't land a single takedown on Colby Covington or pin him down like Kamaru did over those first 20 minutes.
I think that's how good Usman is.
Oh, no, for sure. I do give credit to Kamaru. Like, that was a prime Kamaru performance. We saw it in the first round itself. Kamaru literally, as soon as he landed that first takedown and just had him pinned there, I was like, Buckley just needs a knockout. Like, that's kind of it. But again, if Kamaru gets the title shot, I'm not like mad at it. And it does, I agree, it follows what the UFC has been doing recently, where, he is one of the all-time welterweight greats. He's, in my opinion, the second greatest welterweight of all time. Why not throw him back in there? They gave it to Volk after he lost, twice in a row or 3 times in a row. No, wait. Yeah, 3 times in a row.
Yeah, 3 times
to Islam and then to Poirier. They put him right back in there for a vacant shot. I think they could give Kamaru a shot against the winner of JDM. Like, it's not out of the question.
I think looking at timelines, it could work out.
But I do agree, Sam. I think he should fight one more time. Like, I think he should. He's still in that title eliminator range, but it's the UFC. We don't know how they act.
Yeah, just given his predicament and his age and where he is in his fighting career, like I said, I think it's just boost him up. If he wins, obviously he goes on until he loses. If he loses, then I honestly think he
Miocic a title shot. Like,
yeah. I think if he loses that championship fight, I think he puts down the gloves. But if he wins, obviously he just keeps going and keeps being the Nigerian nightmare as long as possible until something detrimental happens. But I think he silenced everyone last night, and I was extremely impressed with that.
I have another proposal for you about Kamaru Usman. If Dustin Poirier wins BMF belt, do you put Usman against somebody in welterweight or middleweight for that new BMF title?
No.
If Poirier wins.
Okay, this has always been like a dream matchup for me, but imagine how good a fight. Like, it's not going to happen, obviously, but imagine a fight between Kamaru Usman and Robert Whittaker.
Yes! Oh my God.
That would be an insane fight stylistically, but it's not going to happen.
God.
But that's just like a dream fight for me.
That would be a good fight. I would love to see Bobby Nuff.
So there's a lot of options. I will say one quick note before we end. On Joaquin Buckley. I like Joaquin Buckley a lot.
Who do we think he's going to fight?
Oh, I think the UFC has the best opportunity to set up what I believe could be a fight of the year candidate between Joaquin Buckley and Michael Morales.
I agree.
I think that is the most perfect fight in the welterweight division. It's a clear-cut fight, and it keeps both in contention. Joaquin Buckley's not out of title contention just yet. This is just such a perfect fight. And I am begging. I feel like I say this every week. There's always like one perfect fight to set up after a win or loss. This is the one for this week. Joaquin Buckley, Michael Morales, make it happen. Put it on in December or maybe even like November, sometime around there. I think
I'd love to see it as a 3-rounder personally. Like,
I think it'll be. I think a 3-rounder would be the best option for that. Like, put it as a feature bout on maybe like UFC 320, maybe at the MSG card. What if that happens? You never know. One of those cards.
I like it.
October, November, December, that fourth quarter of the year, I'm looking Joaquin Buckley, Michael Morales. Make it happen, Dana White. Please.
I think that's a good pick. Srikar, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I was going to be my pick too. It has to happen. Like, we said it after the Michael Morales fight. Obviously, we hadn't started this podcast yet, but we were kind of in discussions about like, okay, yeah, who's Michael Morales going to fight?
We all said the loser
exactly at Usman and Buckley. Yeah. Because we were like, okay, if Kamaru loses, you get another veteran that Michael Morales can fight and probably dismantle, but obviously it's not going to happen. But now that you have Buckley losing, you can match both of these guys up against each other. Both of them are contenders. This could be a statement win for Morales or a sign from Buckley that, okay, yeah, I'm still here. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think Buckley needs a break from the 5-round fights. Like, I think a 3-rounder suits him right now a lot better.
I think that would be good. I'm not mad at that matchmaking at all. I think that Michael Morales would be good for him. I'm looking a little bit at the welterweight rankings and trying to, like, I could see him fighting a Carlos Prates.
That could happen too.
I mean, obviously it'll be a little weird because Holland just entered the rankings, but I'd love to see Holland versus Buckley too. Now they're in the same weight class again. They did it at middleweight. They could do it at welterweight, but I think that's, I think Buckley should still be fighting in the top 10. I don't think he should be fighting down.
If Gary loses to Brady this summer, we could see Buck versus Gary once more. They
had some beef for a little bit, so that would be very interesting. But a lot of matchmaking going on in the War Room after UFC Atlanta. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening. It'll be very interesting to see what the UFC does with some of these winners and losers. But bottom right corner, follow all our socials on X, Instagram, TikTok. Stay tuned. We're always posting content. We're always tweeting our thoughts. And yeah, it's a great day. It's a great time to be an MMA fan.